If you don't pay the price, you won't get the results. Many years ago for me, I never recognized that even though I was wanting things, I refused to pay the price because it was inconvenient for me. Everything in life has a price. The price is an exchange of energy. People won't pay the price because it's not convenient for them to do that. What we're effectively saying is that we won't pay the price. And then because we won't pay the price energetically, we don't get what we want in life. So you must pay the price of using your energy in an effective way. And that price is learning. I'm telling you, man, for many years, I suffered because I wouldn't pay the price. I hope I'm getting the ball across the plate. That's really what I'm talking about in this episode. You're listening to the Transform Your Life from the Inside Out podcast. This is part of the series or parts that I've been doing, Shaman's Tips for an Amazing 2026. The subtitle of this episode, because I want to talk about this in this episode, is you only get the results in life when you pay the price. Now, I know that we have all heard that before. You've got to pay the price. People often say things like, no pain, no gain. What you put in is what you get out. But if we truly knew it, then why are we not getting what we want in life? The fact that you're listening to this podcast means that you're wanting more, be more, do more, and have more, or you wouldn't be listening. So in this episode, let's talk about, and I'll tie this into Don Xavier and, a shaman and shaman's tips. Let's talk about what it means to pay the price. In the introduction, I talked about, and I know you've heard before, no pain, no gain. You put in, you get out what you put in, and you've got to pay the price. And as I mentioned in the intro, you might be thinking, Jim, these are supposed to be episodes and tips from Don Xavier. Well, Don Xavier often talks about this to those of us that work with him. And he talks about it in all context of life, meaning whether it's your health, your wellness, your money, your relationships. But his general talking about it is about spirituality. And over the years, those of us that work with him, he's given us many different spiritual tools. Things, for example, practices to open the higher chakras, to connect with our soul star, things of that nature. And those are things that I don't have his permission to talk about, and I won't go into it here. But over the years, he's given us many tools that he's consecrated for us, done ceremony for us with these tools. One of the tools in particular is to connect with our cosmic lineage. And I'll leave it at that for now. But these tools are only valuable, and they're all about application in the evolution of self, but they're only valuable when we actually put into practice what he gives us and we master that. And over the years, he has said verbatim, if you don't pay the price, you won't get the results. Now think about that and internalize that, absorb that. If you don't pay the price, you won't get the results. And even in spirituality, let's say that you say, okay, I'm not going to consciously set my intention every day for what I want my life and my day to look like. I'm not going to sit in silence every day. I'm not going to do XYZ, whether it's medicine cards or ruins or whatever it might be. We often say, we get wrapped up in life. We say, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, or it's not convenient for me. And that's often something that Don Xavier talks about, is that people won't pay the price because it's not convenient for them to do that. And then what he goes back into is, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way with any of us and anything in life. I've personally found that many of the things that I've created in my life, and from my interpretation, I have a pretty amazing life. Everything costs something. It might cost money. It might cost time. It might cost energy. It might cost attention. Generally, it might even be a combination of those things. But the home that I live in is paid for. I had to pay the price monetarily, but I also had to pay the price in terms of my time, my energy, my commitment, my dedication to be able to generate the money. So even though we look at it ostensibly and say, okay, well, paying the price for a house is the money. Yes, that is correct, but surface level. What I look at and what I'm talking to you about, I'd call that a macro paying the price. But what's the micro paying the price? And the micro would be, as I said, for example, paying the price for the house. Well, that's just dollars and cents. But the micro is, as I've already alluded to, is where do I keep my attention? Where do I put my energy? Where do I invest my emotions? Because all of these things, literally, cumulatively put together, they equate to whether or not I have paid the price. You've heard this in life before, but I'll say it in a way, and you might have heard me say it this way before, but maybe it'll land a little differently. Everything in life has a price. And that price at a foundational level is, even though it's a price, the price is an exchange of energy. We live in a universe, both physically and non-physically, that is foundationally energy. Einstein, E equals MC squared. We can pay the dollar price, we can pay the labor price, but what we have to look at foundationally, what we're really exchanging is energy. So a cause and effect universe that we live in, and I've been here before, I'm telling you, man, for many years I suffered, which I'll talk about on the next episode, because I wouldn't pay the price. And I thought I was paying the price, but I wasn't really paying the price. Because for me, for many years, I lived from convenience. If it's convenient and easy and I can do it, I'll do it. But if I really want it and it's not convenient and it's not easy, I'd rather go out with friends. I'd rather do this, rather watch a movie, whatever it might be. And back in those earlier years of my life, I never recognized that even though I was wanting things, I refused to pay the price because it was inconvenient for me. So paying the price, even though that might sound like a rah-rah motivational thing, also applies to our spiritual evolution, and that's the foundation of our being. And I really got introduced to this concept back in now of course I've known the concept my entire life, but back in the mid-1990s, I was listening to a guy who's a legend in the personal development industry. His name is Earl Nightingale. Always talked about, you got to pay the price. Now, we think in the world that we live in, paying the price is the physicalness of paying the price. Money, or if I'm working out, I've got to pay the price of the gym membership. I've got to go to the gym. I have to eat right. And I've got to do the work when I am in the gym. Yes, that is paying the price mechanically. But what about energetically? And I say this again a bit repetitively. What about the energetics of paying the price? But when it comes to spirituality, Don Xavier over the decades, and he's always very kind about it. He's never condemning. He's never shaming. He's always along the lines of, okay, I give you these tools and you're not using the tools that I give you. And this applies to me at different times in my apprenticeship with him. It applies to other people. And there are many people that don't even stick on the path with him. Someone that's working with him reached out to me this morning and said, I need your help. I want to talk to you. And I told this person that the path that we're on in the very early years, as a matter of fact, the first couple of months, Don Juan, in a channeling, he said that only a drunk man, metaphorically speaking, only a drunk man would get on the path of shamanism with a real shaman. And the reason why, it's a very challenging path. It will shake you to your core at different points in your evolution. Most of us won't pay that price. And he even said back then that it's not a path of convenience. It's a path of commitment and dedication and heart. So, again, we talk about paying the price and we think it's all 3D. Money is paying the price. working out is paying the price. And yes, that is absolutely correct. Fundamentally, you must pay the price. You're listening to me on a device right now, whether it be your computer or your phone. You paid the price for that mechanically and materially, but you also had to pay the price energetically to create the money to buy the device. That's really, I hope I'm getting the ball across the plate. That's really what I'm talking about in this episode. But our biggest hindrance to that, as I've already said, is we won't pay the price many times if we think we can't figure it out. Or, and it's different things for different people, a story I was going into just a bit ago, many years ago for me, if it's not convenient. And the way that I used to live from that place was, okay, I want XYZ. And by the way, you can have anything that you want in life. And I would say, I want XYZ. And 30 years ago, that might have been a car that runs or a decent apartment to live in. And I would say, okay, I want XYZ. I'm waiting tables during the day. I'm doing my NLP training also during the day. And I'm doing all these things, but I want more in life. I never recognized till years later, I wouldn't pay the price for it. Why? Because one of my highest values is freedom, and I value freedom. And so if I paid the price, then I was thinking that I was giving away my freedom, and I didn't want to pay the price of my freedom. But what I didn't recognize is I wasn't creating what I wanted in life, which literally took more freedom away from me. And then I recognized it's more valuable to pay the price now, whatever it is, so I can be and do and have more later in life. So you understand the 3D aspect of it is you got to give to get. You've got to put something in to get something out. But the problem here is doing the work and paying the price. Here's where the real price comes in. So let's say that we're level 1 talking about what we just talked about. But right now I want to go to a deeper level. Is we might pay the price and say, okay, I will pay the price. But the price we won't pay many times, and this applied to me, and I see it in students all the time, we won't pay the price of consistency. Meaning, okay, I'm going to become a particular way to create XYZ outcome. Now, that's not going to happen overnight for most people. So I've got to be consistent. I've got to learn to manage my habits. I've got to shift my identity. I've got to do all these things. And if you're anything like me many years ago, I would tear into it like a warrior when I started. Man, I was guns a-blazing, and I'm going to tear into this. And I'd find very quickly that I'd hit a wall and I would just stop. And I recognized, years later, looking back in retrospect, all the while hearing Don Xavier in my head, you got to pay the price, I thought I was paying the price. And I was to a small degree, but I wasn't paying the price of consistency. So when it comes to the spiritual energetic aspect of this, I can go very, very fundamental and simply, and I'll find many of you, if you're telling the truth, at least to yourself, you're already falling off track. And that would be, are you paying the price with your attention, with your intention? Are you paying the price with your attention and your intention? So we do the 3D work thinking we're paying the price, but guess what? If energetically and mentally and emotionally we're in a state of, I hate this and I hate this and I don't want to do it and I don't like doing this and why do I have to do it? What we're effectively saying is that we won't pay the price. And then because we won't pay the price energetically, we don't get what we want in life. So paying the price is not just physical. It's just not mechanical work. Paying the price is both physical and non-physical. I know that you're here because for the most part, you have a spiritual orientation. So spirituality, as I'd said a little bit earlier, and I'll talk a little bit more about this and give you some examples. Got to pay the price. When we talk about paying the price and we talk about spirituality, it really comes down to the reciprocity of life and that there's a reciprocation for everything in life. And if you're not paying the price, then you're not paying your part of the equation. You're wanting a reciprocation, but you're not paying it. And when it comes to spirituality, it doesn't matter what it is for you. Even money can be spiritual. Maybe you want to learn to read tarot. Maybe you want to learn lucid dreaming. Maybe you want to learn how to interpret your dreams. Maybe you want to learn how to read the Akashic records. Anything and everything in life is about paying the price. I'm not going to stop the recording right now, and I asked the team not to edit this out, but I'm home alone right now with my dog, and my other dog went to the vet. So if you hear a little whining in the background, that's my puppy Milo wanting attention. So I apologize for that. I'm just being transparent. So talking about paying the price spiritually, DX and I often talk about this. And he talks about it in a very loving and compassionate way. How what he calls the new kids on the block, the new people that are working with him. Generally, they're people new to his circle, and many people, especially younger people, after 1980 or so, and I did an episode on this quite a while back about the indigos and the crystallines coming to the planet. And many people that come, they're in their 20s. Boom, they're getting things now spiritually that I had to work a lot harder for, or older people had to work harder for. And he said to me, he goes, the great thing about the new kids on the block is that they're just gifted. They're very gifted. They get it. They're coming at a higher evolution than those of us that are older came to the planet. And I said, they've got a different operating system, so to speak. And they're very gifted, but many times they won't pay the price. They want it done for them. He's never said that in any kind of judgmental way, any kind of condescending way. Nothing like that at all. It's simply been along the lines of the younger ones, the new kids on the block, they come and they have all these gifts, but they're wanting me to do a lot of the work for them, meaning Don Xavier. And he goes, they want bigger and stronger and better outcomes spiritually, but they won't do the work. And he said the only way to get the outcome you want is to pay the price. There's no other way. Now, I also want to point out, and this is neurological and brain-based, that many times we won't pay the price. And again, it's brain-based. It's because, for example, if I want to create XYZ in life, I've got to pay the price. And let's say, for example, spiritually, but even in 3D world, making money, buying a home, whatever, we can say, I want XYZ. But then I look at what are the components of paying the price. Well, one of the components might be is that I need to be disciplined. Another one could be is that I need to be committed. Another one could be is that I need to be, responsible for what it is that I want to create. Another one could be is that I need to set my intention and manage my intention. Another one could be is, well, I have to master my attention with an A. Well, when it comes to commitment, for example, we could say, well, yeah, to pay the price, I have to be consistent and committed. But then we find we're not being consistent and committed. Based upon what I just said in this episode, do not beat yourself up saying, I'm just not consistent, I'm a bad person, blah, blah. We have to recognize that if we're not committed, it's because we are in the habit. It's brain-based, plain and simple. We are in the habit of identity verification. There's a part of the brain that also likes predictability. And paying the price might mean change, and we can't predict it. Therefore, it scares us. Therefore, part of it says we want to pay the price. Another part of us won't pay the price. So what I'm telling you, it really is an easy answer, but it's a comprehensive answer. And what I'm telling you is this. We'll leave it very simply. You can apply it to 5D. You can apply it to 3D. Nothing is free. Now, what I mean nothing is free, Don Xavier said that for many years, meaning everything is about reciprocity. You give what you get, whether it be in the 3D world or even the 5D world. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you're asking an energetic being, for example, Let's say, and I'm using that term very loosely and lightly without description, let's say a guide. Let's say that you are able to connect with what people call aliens, okay? You have to be able to reach them energetically, and that means silence in the mind. And if you won't pay the price to develop the silence in the mind, well, then guess what? You don't get the reward. You don't get the connection because it's not the responsibility of the other side to make you, because you have free will, to make you consistent. So your outcome is this, your takeaway is this. We all, everyone, you're listening to the podcast because you want different outcomes in your life. But everything requires an exchange of energy. You've got to pay the price and you've got to do the work. And by the way, the definition of work is the capacity to use energy. So you must pay the price of using your energy in an effective way. One of the first things that Don Xavier started teaching me when I started working with him is that a shaman learns to conserve their energy. Now, what he taught me back decades ago is that shamans use to learn their energy and manage their energy wisely so they have it like a battery store pack when they need it. But most of us waste our energy through living in the 3D world consciously and just being in that world. We lose the energy through watching the news and then getting into blah, blah, blah about the news, Trump or Biden or Putin. We lose the energy through watching porn and being addicted to that. And again, it's a very complex but very simple thing. Or in over drinking alcohol, or in our emotions, our worry, our fear, and energy. Because every single thing that I just mentioned, whether it be porn or social media or doom scrolling or drinking or worry or fear or anger, all is a consumption of energy. And to create more, we have to pay the price. And that price is learning. I rarely ask this, but I'm asking for something now, a little bit of Eine, a little bit of exchange. If you're finding value in these episodes, I'm giving to you, and I request that we be in Eine, meaning we be in reciprocity of life and we be in exchange. And the way that I request that is if you would please go and leave on iTunes a 5-star review. Anything less than that is not going to help me. And share the episodes. I'd be very grateful, and I'm blessed to be able to bring this content to you. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you over on another episode. Bye-bye.